I am going to look at one of two positions I held as an ESL instructor and what we did. It is pretty unstructured and is missing a lot of the components that the public school teachers are using. But I will do my best to describe the details and the structure that we used at the time. So this will be I will focus on my position at Divine Word College, which is my most recent position. I think that the main criticisms of this framework are valid, and I think what they miss out on is the humanness of education and learning, and the research is based on logic and theoretical abstraction really removes the human from the process. And to have a valid process, it really needs to take into account that humans are not machines. They have unique and creative ways of interacting that can't be relied upon. So I think, generally speaking, that isn't taken into account in what we read and in the criticisms. And so some of the things that are missing out are things like the sense of humor. What is the instructor's relationship to the students, the emotional climate of the class, the instructor's ability to adapt in the moment. So as I said, I agree with the criticisms, and I think that they are trying, this report is trying to create something where there are hard and fast rules, and there simply aren't necessarily, sometimes there can be guidelines, but there are not hard and fast rules in any of the sciences, in any of the social sciences, and the ones that focus specifically on what are basically human interactions. As I have mentioned previously, there is not necessarily a governing body that oversees intensive English programs. The two that I have worked in were not accredited. So it's really common to not have accreditation in IEPs. However, there is a governing body. I did some basic research, and there is a governing body called University and College Intensive English Programs. And the website was not very comprehensive. It looked like you had to pay to have access to the website. And I didn't see anything on that website that indicated there was a plan for professional development within their body. And I have to say that it's really hard to be reliable when there isn't a standard. As for performance assessments, at Divine Word, the director of our department would observe us once a year, and he would take notes about what we did and what he thought was effective. I got mostly positive reviews, so I'm not sure how much critical work he did at looking at what we needed to improve upon. He would then write up his observation, and he would send us a copy. And I'm not sure, I don't think that we met to discuss it afterwards. So that was it for our observation and professional performance. So I believe it has some validity because it has someone in the field that has worked for several years, has had a lot of experience as an ESL instructor. But the reliability is low because he didn't observe us multiple times throughout the year. There were some years I didn't even get observed at all. It wasn't based on rubrics or standards, and it really was just his impressions of how we seemed to be doing in class. The other aspect of our performance assessment was the end of year report. So we would have a document that we would fill out that included all that we had done throughout the school year. That included conferences that we had attended, committees that we had participated in at the school, anything else that, if we'd done publishing, for example, anything else that contributed to the school or the benefit of the students. And so this aspect contributes to some validity because it's evidence of contribution to the school and to the students. However, that's where the report ended. We submitted the report and to administration, to the dean of students and the dean of faculty, and that is all that we heard. We heard nothing back. So that was a problem at our school that it was just the way that the school worked, and we accepted that, although we understood that it wasn't very strong practice. So at Divine Word College, there were basically no structures in place to support professional assessment performance. The validity and the reliability here are very weak. Even though the director of my department did the observing, he was not trained in observing instructors. There is no structured support. The governance that allows for personnel decisions, there are requirements for the degrees that an instructor should have. So there's a little bit of structure there, but also there's no system in place for resources. So really, because there's not an emphasis on educational principles, the focus is more on the content that is being taught at colleges and universities. There is not a lot of validity and reliability within professional performance. Most, if not all, of our learning opportunities were going to conferences. I think when we went to conferences, we were required to spend a couple minutes talking about what we had learned, and that was the end of our professional development. I am going to look at the elements of a teaching and learning system as noted in the reading and compare it to our teaching and learning system that we had at Divine Word College. So common statewide standards, we have no standards, so this is not applicable. Performance assessments based on statewide standards guiding state functions. Again, there are no standards, so this doesn't really apply either. Local evaluation systems align to the same standards, so we did have to provide evidence of our contribution to the school, and we did have to provide evidence of our contributions to student learning, although not based on any standards, just expectations of what was required of us. Support structures. So we did have professional development funds. So it was encouraged that we attend conferences and contribute, but I guess it was expected, but really kind of in our own way as we wanted to. And it wasn't required, and there was no structure. And aligned professional learning opportunities. So what we mostly did was we went to conferences. After we had an observation, we got a copy of the observation, and I don't remember speaking with my director about it afterwards, but that was the end. That's how that was handled at Divine Word College.